I presented myself as a competent home buyer. I knew what I was doing, said, here's what I'm looking for. Let's go. Once we hit the track, we went running. I think the whole home buying experience, basically, once we got into contract, was like 17 days or 15 days. It was pretty quick. All of this to say, though, there's no secret sauce. There's nothing special that I did other than just chip away.
You don't have a trust fund
day by
or anything
day.
like
No,
that.
man. It's just like, just put your head down, work, grind, save, get married, have a financial partner that's going to support you.
Getting married is a good financial decision too.
You know what? That is a great financial decision. I think Dave Ramsey's got some good facts behind married couples and financial goals. So,
welcome back to the Sam Maurer Hour. I am here with Jacob Stabler. He is a business owner in Sacramento, California, and you've done the impossible. You purchased a home in 2024. You got to tell us how you did it.
yeah, what's up, Sam? Glad to be on the show. Not impossible, challenging, especially in California, especially in 2024 with the interest rates, with the prices. Before I go on, I just want to apologize to our viewers and listeners. I got a little bit of a rasp. I'm on the tail end of a little cold, but I feel great. I'm just sort of on the tail end of this thing.
No worries. Just glad you're here.
Thanks, man. So glad to be on the show. Purchased a home in 2024, man, here in California, Sacramento to be specific. 28 years old, just bought a home for about $950,000. Put $200,000 down, got a VA home loan, went through the whole process. It was challenging, but not impossible. And I'd love if my story can be maybe a voice of encouragement and hope for anyone that's in the market, anybody that's struggling. I just want to tell people it's possible. I'm not a special case. I don't have any secret sauce. I just followed a couple basic rules and put my head down one day at 18 years old and woke up at 28, ready to buy a home. And, fortunate enough,
So
I got
no trust fund. You're not making $1 million a year.
No, I don't got some rich daddy that's giving me a bunch of money. No inheritance that I collected. No.
You put a large down payment down. You're a first time home buyer. Most people don't, but from my understanding, you've been saving this. Being a home buyer has been a 10-year goal.
Yeah. I mean, started at 18 years old, basically right out of high school. I jumped into the military, and good thing that the military does, they do give you some basic financial advice, and home buying is something that they want their young bucks to be thinking about rather than drinking and hooking up with girls, even though that's what everyone ends up doing.
Yeah.
I actually listened to some of the advice. So
good.
At 18 years old, just started getting myself set up to be credit worthy. Didn't take out any debt. Didn't have any loans for vehicles. Don't
Student
drink.
loans.
No, man, nothing. Never had student loans. I never took that route for education.
Yeah.
I don't blame anyone that does, but
Especially in this day and age.
yeah, but I mean, it's little things like that just kind of set me ahead. But really the trick was just patience, diligence, discipline, putting a little bit away every single month. So even in the military, I wasn't making much, but over the course of 6 years, even just having conversation with some of my buddies about savings, people would look at me and be like, you're joking. Like, are you selling drugs? How do you have, $80K in your savings? I'm like, dude,
You're just keeping your eyes
I'm
open.
like, bro, we've been doing this for years. How do you not have any money in your bank? So
yeah. Did you have any rules, or did you do it more intuitively? Did you have a certain number you wanted to hit every single month?
I can't remember if I had any specific numeric goals. It's just my goal was always to save as much as I could.
Sure.
And I think that paired with, I'm driven to save as much as I could. And that paired with the fact that I don't have any kind of unhealthy habits or expensive hobbies. I don't drink. I didn't get a car loan. I bought a $2,500 Honda CRV for my first vehicle. My dad
That's
helped.
smart.
Yeah. So, I mean, dude, just the basic, the stuff that everybody knows they should be doing.
Right.
I kind of did for about 10 years.
Yep.
And lo and behold, it works.
Yeah.
Just not being financially responsible.
I think when you have a plan in place, people have this idea of having a lot of money in the bank, but if you don't have any actual plans of what you want to do with that money, then what's the point of saving in the first place?
Yeah.
In order, the idea of saving is to be able to give yourself financial freedom to access other assets that are more appreciating or more stable or whatever the case may be. Of course, you pick the best, in my opinion, because for one, utility, investment, and of course you can leverage it down the road if you really wanted to.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I understand a little bit of your scenario. So you started, my understanding is you were thinking about buying a little while ago, back in 2021, you were kind of considering it. And then you're like, you know what, with COVID, it was kind of didn't really know it was around the corner. There was a lot of just so much information.
Uncertainty. Doubt, skepticism. I got out of the military in October of 2019. I think I had about $80,000 saved up at that point. So I had good credit. Me and my wife, I was married at that time too. So we'd been working together and saving up. So I was already in a position to start thinking about home buying, but then the whole COVID thing happened, the uncertainties with the economy and the market. We already felt like we're on the precipice of a housing crash.
Yeah.
Little did we know that quite the opposite, homes would double. So we just held off. And then as COVID started and continued to go, we just waited and waited and waited and actually took that time to keep saving.
Yep. And I think that's most people. I mean, people will wait until the right time, but I think you got to the point where it's like things aren't changing and when it comes down to it. And I think a lot of people, because I was one of those people to where I'd love to see some sort of a crash or a big dip in pricing just because it allows for more access for other people.
Yep.
But unfortunately, supply's been so low, it's been pushing prices sky high. So just wanted to go back to it. So you started your thought in 2021, but what kind of steps did you lead up to that? Because you were focusing on, of course, making income, saving money. You knew in 2021 that you had enough money to be able to allocate towards a purchase.
Right.
But when it came down to restarting, tell us about that process. Because I know you were shopping for a little while and you ended up in the new build territory, right?
Yeah. So 2020, I kind of dipped my toes in the market and then backed right out, right? COVID happened, all the uncertainty. So we basically took like a hiatus for almost 2 to 3 years. It wasn't until early 2023 that we kind of revisited the conversation to start looking for homes, reassessed our finances, basically determined that there's not going to be a crash next week. Homes aren't going to be half the value next month, basically, like we're hoping. So started really looking for homes, knew that we're credit worthy, knew that we had enough savings. And step one, talk to a loan officer, right? So we got in touch with the loan officer, basically determined how much we can qualify for, whether or not we're ready to buy a home, whether or not we're ready to buy the home that we ideally want. And we discovered, we are. We're in a position to do that. But all that to say, step one, talk with the loan officer, talk with Sam Mauer, get in touch with a reliable, trustworthy loan officer, because my discussions and my conversations with my loan officer are really what gave me the confidence, the direction, and I was able to lean a little bit on his experience and trustworthiness to guide the rest of my home buying experience.
And give you a realistic outlook.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
I'm sure the first thing that he did was he probably asked you a few questions. What's your gross monthly income? How much monthly debt? How much do you have to put down for a down payment? And then from there, it usually takes 5 to 10 minutes, maybe. And then establish a pre-qualified budget. And then at least from there, you understand where you're at. And then from there, if everything checks out, you like it, then we do the pre-approval and we do all the income documentation, all the verification we need. So that is something that I think you weren't concerned about making that phone call. I think a lot of people are, and they feel like maybe they're not worthy or ready. But would you say that really helped you understand where you're at? And then you're like, okay, we like talk to your wife, let's move forward. There's no reason not to, right?
Yeah. And I'd say a lot of the confidence that I had after that first conversation with the loan officer, with a qualified and competent loan officer, because I spoke with a few that didn't give me good instructions, but
you figured it out really quickly.
Yeah. So part of the confidence that I had after having my first conversation with the loan officer is due to the fact that I spent about half a year just doing my research. I spent tens and tens, dozens and dozens, maybe up to 100 hours.
YouTube articles, stuff like that.
Yeah. Just learning about the home buying experience so that when I take that first step, I can understand what my loan officer is talking about when he's talking about points and quotes and estimates, this and that. So I learned their language both on the loan officer side and on the realtor side. And that really gave me a lot of confidence once I actually stepped into the market and ready to buy.
Yeah. And that sets you up. I mean, there's so many times where on the phone, you hear a certain rate, you get excited over it. And then you get the loan estimate over. And if you don't understand, if you're working with a loan officer, you think you feel comfortable with them, and then they present it and you don't know what you're looking for. Points is a big factor. If you saw 3 points on there, it's your rate maybe 6.25, but you're getting charged, let's just say a $600,000 loan on 3 points, that's 18 grand.
Yeah.
So 3% of the loan amount.
So those are like the little red flags that a lot of people don't know what to look for.
That's huge that you did that research.
Yeah. So just being an informed consumer can set you ahead. It give you the confidence and can also accelerate, the pace at which you can move, because you're not going to have to take a bunch of wrong turns along the way and learn the hard way.
Right.
Yeah.
You're ready to buy. You're out shopping. So this is the beginning of 2023.
Yep.
And you probably did months and months. You were looking at established homes and you landed on the new builds.
Yeah, man. I spent a long time. Most of my actual home buying research was spent looking at established homes or used homes.
Most people
And
do.
I mean, once I came across some of the new builds, specifically the Elliott homes that I ended up buying, one of the homes I ended up buying, I realized, man, the prices on new homes are pretty much the same, if not better
Yeah.
than some of the established homes.
Mhm.
So
Can be.
I was like, okay, so something's got to give here.
What's
There's
the catch?
What is the catch? And there's really no catch, bro. I don't know if it's something to do with the position of the economy, but basically we found no reason not to go towards a new build, especially when we consider the fact that the seller's being really competitive with cost. He's offering seller concessions. We got a killer deal on that.
Yeah.
So everything just basically lined up to a new build. We had peace of mind knowing we're the first tenants there, or the first occupants there.
Mhm.
We don't have to worry about a furnace going out. We don't have to worry about HVAC and electrical and the roof. It's all brand new. So
That's huge.
yeah, we decided to pull the trigger.
I think that's cool because you purchased it when it was already built.
Right.
And I think that's a big advantage. I think I've spoken about it before in a previous video. It's actually should be coming out today. I'm pretty much reacting to a TikTok of just like the worst possible situation with a new build situation. So I always say if you can get to a new build to where it's already built, you have a lot more leverage to be able to get those seller concessions, to be able to get 4% in seller concessions, which is a fancy way of saying 4% of the sales price goes back in your pocket, which is huge.
Yeah.
Right. But when you have a pre-built, when it's prior to being built, they'll lock you in. They'll tell you at a certain rate. I had a buddy that was told that it was locked, but he wasn't an uninformed buyer. So he didn't see that on the loan estimate, it showed floating, not locked.
Not locked, yeah.
And then by the time it's every time you're going to have to put down your deposit to lock it in before it actually gets built. And when it comes to be built, you're locked in. And if anything changes, it's on you.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that was really smart. And I think it just coincidentally happened that way with you. And I think that was, when I talked to you about it a little bit before the podcast, it was everything just stars aligned really, really well.
It did.
Just super cool.
It did. Yeah.
But I don't think it was all by accident. I think a lot of it came down to your research.
A little bit of good luck, good fortune, but just planning, diligence, and patience. So I locked in at 5.75, right? And that's
amazing.
That's sick, man. That's
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Because rates have been floating between 6 to 8.
It was like end of December, right?
Yeah.
That was when there was a nice little rate sharpening down, which is great.
And like it just so happened to be when I was looking to lock in a rate, and my loan officer's like, bro, 5.75 for your VA. I'm like, where's the points? No points, bro.
That's
like,
sick.
all right, man, lock me in.
Yeah.
So we got locked, 30-day lock. I was already looking at one of those Elliott homes, pretty serious. So yeah, man, from there, the process was just all, full speed ahead. At that point,
you got a 5.75% interest rate, but you got those 4% seller concessions, and you allocated to a 3-2-1 buy down. You're telling me, right?
Yeah. So I got a pretty sweet deal. And again, that's one of the perks I think with buying a new home is that the seller's not emotional. I mean,
that's another thing.
He's got, you're one of like 50 or 100 or 1,000 different homes that he's trying to sell.
The emotions of a seller that they grew up their family in that home.
Yeah. So we put in a competitive offer. We wrote our offer. We asked for 4% concessions, and it got approved the next day. So that was $38,000 or so in our pocket. And
huge.
Yeah, a good portion of that went towards a 3-2-1 buy down. The seller paid for it, of course, and then the rest went towards closing costs. So yeah, 5.75 fixed with a 3-2-1. My first year's interest rate is 2.75. So
that's so
dude,
good.
It's a sweet deal for 2024. So it's a sweet deal.
So we go your first year 2.75, your second year 3.75, your third year is 4.75, and if you don't refinance between that time, you go back to the market rate of 5.75. Yep. And if there's any remaining refinance between that time, there's $10,000 left in that account because essentially that money was allocated to an account.
It goes into an escrow account, basically, right?
Totally. Yeah, because it's all you're doing is you're artificially buying it down through paying the payments up front, the difference between the two. So if there's anything left in that account, if you refinance before that strike time hits, goes right back to paying down your loan balance even further, which is fantastic.
Great deal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of our goal. We're hoping to refinance maybe in the next couple of years. Yep. So if rates dip into like the low 5s or high 4s, refinance. You know. Yeah, I'll talk to you. But yeah, I mean, that's really the goal that we're kind of trying to set ourselves up with, where we want to be aggressive with paying down this home as quick as possible. So 1 to 2 months or $1,000 to $2,000 towards principal additional per month is sort of what we're shooting for.
And you're allocating every single time you're saying that this is going towards principal. You're
right.
playing the servicing department to pay it towards the principal.
So that was one of the things I learned. You have to explicitly request that this money go towards principal.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that's the goal. We want to pay this thing off as quick as possible because that amortization chart is nasty, bro.
Yeah.
It is sick how front loaded the interest is.
So what he's talking about on the amortization schedule, it shows how much you're paying in interest throughout a 30-year period. And you'll see that the first 11 years you're paying more majority interest. It's called being front loaded with interest. And then after that it gets to a certain point where you're equal and then you're paying more principal than interest. But you can obviously bypass that by putting more money towards the principal. Of course, if you reduce your length of time, the less interest you'll pay over time.
Yep.
On top of the interest deductions you get every single year.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's something kind of new that you taught me. That's pretty sweet. So yeah, tell me a little bit more. Tell the listeners about that as well.
Yeah. So you haven't had to do it yet since you purchased your home in January. Right. But what's cool about buying in January is that your first payment was probably March, right?
Correct.
March. So you just made your first payment.
Yep.
Pretty awesome.
Yep.
So from March to December, you're going to be paying a good amount of interest. But what's going to happen is your lender is going to send you what's called a 1098 form, which is going to show exactly how much you've paid in interest throughout the year. You give that to your CPA and they can deduct that from your taxes along with all of your closing costs, excluding taxes and insurance. So anything that's a one-off fees, that actually includes points too. But you didn't have that, so it doesn't matter. Can also be deducted. So your CPA is going to ask for a 1098. They'll put that on your Schedule A. You don't have to do that if you have your CPA. But also if you have mortgage insurance, you'll get another form that will show how much you paid there. So he'll ask for that on top of your final closing statement. Yeah. So when you sign your loan documents, it breaks down all the fees and then how much you owe in the closing table.
You can write that off at the end of the year, right?
Other than the down payment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course the property taxes as well. So there's just so many benefits to being a homeowner and just owning real estate. And that's just one of them. And of course you get the investment plus the shelter.
Yeah. And it feels as good as any prospective home buyer thinks it feels. It really is great living in a home. I think you said this before, but renting is 100% interest.
So true. Just shelter at that point.
Yeah. So, getting a home really is a financial goal that every young man and woman should set before them and really strive towards, because it's something that requires discipline, financial responsibility, planning, goal setting, all that stuff.
For all of us to implement in our life.
Absolutely. I mean, there's basic principles in life that'll get you to where you want to go. Yep. But it takes diligence. It takes, responsibility. So,
and having a clear goal set in mind.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. I think a lot of people are like, I'll get to it when I'm mentally ready. But at the end of the day, if that's something you want to do, like you said, you're 18, you knew that that's what you want to do. You allocated a small amount every month and you got to a point to where you could put $200,000 towards your first home, which is incredible, by the way. And just so the viewers understand, he went above and beyond. He went 20% down on VA, which is the best.
Like 22.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's very impressive. But if you are a first-time home buyer with conventional, you can put as little as 3% down. Of course, there's down payment assistance, but I don't know about you, but I'd rather come in with some skin in the game and know that I'm coming with at least some equity. But of course, being a homeowner, if you have the income, there's down payment assistance, and an FHA is 3.5% down. Of course, VA is 0.
And for anybody that wants to have more of that conversation, call Sam.
Yeah, I can talk your ear off about that, but I want to focus on you. So, so you bought a new build and you had an agent, right?
Definitely. Yeah. I had a buyer agent represent me, and that was
huge.
Really good. Very important. She was motivated. She was competent. She was very responsive, very professional. So, honestly, the home buying experience for me was so good because every party that I worked with was motivated. They wanted to get the sale. They wanted to get it done.
That's fantastic.
I think they saw in me a home buyer that's got his ducks in a row. He's ready to go. The finances make sense. He's got all his paperwork. Let's point and shoot. So
you're a good investment for them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I presented myself as a competent home buyer. I knew what I was doing, said, here's what I'm looking for. Let's go. So once we hit the track, we went running. And awesome. I think the whole home buying experience, basically, once we got into contract, was like 17 days or 15 days. It was pretty quick.
Awesome.
It was a pretty quick closing. All of this to say, though, there's no secret sauce. There's nothing special that I did other than just chip away.
You don't have a trust fund
day by day.
Like
no,
that.
Man. It's just like just put your head down, work, grind, save. get married, have a financial partner that's going to support you.
Getting married is a good financial decision too.
You know what? That is a great financial decision. I think there's actually some good facts. I think Dave Ramsey's got some good facts behind, married couples and financial goals.
There's an ever evolving thing in our industry to where it's like, if you want to buy a home, get married.
Is that right?
Dual income. Because
I just kind of threw that out there because that's for me, I'm actually serious about that.
It's funny you mentioned that because
I know that's true, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's two $60,000 incomes make up $120,000 income, which then you can go over 500,000.
Yep.
60,000, you're probably not even worth buying.
Yep.
You're going to be in the 300 range.
Yeah.
You know,
it's going to be tough.
So in California, if you're in California, you know how tough it would be to find a $300,000 home. Don't
just get married to the right gal or right guy.
Yeah.
Find a good life partner that you're going to stick to, because the two of you guys will make all your goals come true.
A true team.
That's right.
It's awesome. Yeah. And I just wanted to kind of round it back out with that agent thing, because I've had a lot of horror stories where a lot of people will go into a new build office. They'll sign on the dotted line, essentially forfeiting their right for buyer representation. They like that happening because, again, less representation that they have. They don't have anyone to negotiate on their behalf.
Smaller commission they have to write for.
So did you feel like you were a lot more protected when you had someone that was representing on your behalf?
My agent made it really clear, hey, if you were going to start looking at this new home, just know, do not show up to this new home viewing without me, because if you do, you're going to forfeit my right to represent you.
Yeah.
I mean, she even mentioned a horror story, how she had a buyer that she was working with that showed up basically unannounced to go view a new build. And the seller recognized that he was not there with an agent and either noted it, did something, maybe had him sign, and basically gave the buyer's agent the impression that she would still get her commission. And then when the day came to actually go into contract and all that stuff, they said, sorry, you forfeited your rights way long ago. So she was adamant. She was clear about the fact, make sure you're represented. But she also did a really good job at making sure that I knew my rights when it comes to the home inspections, what I should be looking for, just talking with each of your representatives, whether it's on the lender side or the realtor side, helps you paint a picture of where this is kind of going and, what everything should look and sound like. So she was very helpful.
That's awesome, because I think that when someone is they're working in your best interest. So what they're going to do is they're going to want to make sure that, for one, you're protected. So it's nice that she brought up that, yes, a lot of people think it doesn't make sense to do inspections. Brand new home. No, do your inspections. Anything can change from the time in which they built it to the time in which they sell it. Right. So inspections, and if there's anything that needs to be repaired, you can absolutely do a request for repairs. I've heard other builders say, we don't accept requests for repairs. You absolutely can submit that.
You have
the ability to. Yeah. I mean, they can decline, but I don't know about you. If there's a builder, then they have a certain time frame that they need to hit, because the longer they have those units out to sell, the more they're not making money. Exactly. They're losing money. So they're bleeding. So they're incentivized to work with you and make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. So that's very cool.
And I mean, whether you're looking for a preoccupied or used home or a new build, having a competent rep for you as a buyer is critical, very important.
Your team is everything. Yeah. I've seen a
good lender. Finding a good lender is very important for sure.
Yeah, agent that's going to be very communicative with the seller if it's and then also a lender that's going to be going above and beyond, calling that listing agent immediately, talking about how awesome you are, how competent, how credit worthy you are, etc.
Yep.
Your team is everything, especially in a competitive market, which we'll see if things die down, but it's only heating up.
Exactly.
It's only heating up.
Yeah, it's brutal, man. It's not getting any better in my opinion.
You killed the home buying process. And I think that you make it sound easy, but it was a long process to get there.
It was challenging. It required a lot of patience, a lot of communication, research. But at the end of the day, that's life. If you want to win at life, you got to do your studies. You got to do your research. You got to plan. You got to be disciplined. You got to be patient. So, I mean, I apply the same principles that I do in life towards buying a home, towards running a business, towards, running my home. All these things require discipline and, good principles. So if you've got what it takes to be, a patient, disciplined and responsible man in life, you're going to apply the same things towards buying a home. And I think you'll have success.
And it sounded like a few years ago, you were financially ready to buy, but in 2023, you were mentally ready to buy. Yeah. And the one thing I always say is you got to be financially and mentally in order to make that move. Yeah. So you did it. And I wanted to just say thank you so much for being on, because your perspective is huge. It's it's almost like a hero story, a big win for a first time home buyer. Anyone that can buy in their 20s, it's huge, especially when you got a wonderful wife, and a baby. Congratulations, by the way. 2 babies.
You got 2 kids, man.
2 kids. Yeah. You're
busy home.
You're a busy man, but you're also a very, very hardworking and consistent man.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks for having me on the show, man. So glad I can share my story. And I just, to cap it off, my story shouldn't and doesn't necessarily have to be unique and special. It's just an accumulation of basic principles and tenets that went to work. And over the course of 10 years, you find yourself in a good spot to buy a home. So anybody can do it. That's what I'm saying. Anybody can do it.
I couldn't say it better myself. Sam Maurer, thank you so much for coming on, my friend.
Pleasure. Take care.
See you in the next one.